welcome. As you can see, it's a pretty casual night. Gemma's replays. I hope everybody's having a good weekend so far. I'm a little run down, but it's been a busy day. I hope you're all good. For those who are watching now, and I'll say it again later, I am having voice problems. As I was saying Friday night, we're noticing that it comes and goes the more I talk. A lot of it has to do with the nerves. So just bear with me if I kind of lose my voice there for a little bit. Hello, Rainwater. How are you doing tonight? I hope you're having a good weekend. And I'm glad you come in and say hi. That's so sweet of you. Hello, Nightmare. Pause there for a second. Thank you. Yes. Pretty cool shirt. It was a little gift to myself. A little Halloween gift to myself. Every so often I buy myself something. I hope you're having a good one, Nightmare. Thank you for showing up. And those hiding in the background, thank you again for showing up. Appreciate it. I had to wait till you move your hands. Yeah. My hands all over the place. But yeah, it's a nice shirt. I like it a lot. It's a cool shirt. You know, though, at the printer, and I printed transfers and direct print for about 15 years for a company. But I'll tell you what, I'm going to have to stop. When I go buy stuff in a store, I'm going to start opening the shirt up and laying it out. Because I noticed, like, they're off. They're tilted just a little bit. It's like they can't get it straight. And it cracks me up. Because I've noticed this more and more. So now I'm just going to have to be a little bit. This one was tilted, but not a whole lot. But you can tell when I stand up, it's a little off. It's like they rush jobbed it. I think this is a direct print too, probably digital. Because a lot of them do digital now. The spray machines are pretty nice. But to me, it is nothing like, you know, doing the old squeegee technique. It's a little more crafty. I love that job. It's one of my favorite jobs. Never had the same problem. And that's what made that job fun. Always like that. You know, I like puzzles. I like to keep things going and keep my mind ticking. And that job was one of the best jobs, especially when I worked in the R&D lab. I loved it. I missed that job more than anything. And tonight I'm going to run a couple of Gemma's replays on, I gotta go look now, Demon Encounters. We're going to do her first demon encounter from 3 years ago. But yeah, as people come in, there are some things I like to address. First of all, for all those, and I'll say it again later, probably in between the videos or right before the uploads. I want to thank hey Chris, how you doing? I want to thank everybody for Friday night. It was something new, and you know she's got to bring that in. Look at this site later. Oh, I will. I'll check that out for sure. I'm a big I like anime, but Dragon Ball was the first thing I was in. Well, actually, Speed Racer and Voltron was the first ones I was introduced to, and then a cousin who lived in Tokyo introduced me to Dragon Ball. But yeah, I want to thank everybody for the great reception. It does make the night a little shorter. You know, become a member or let us know. We want to make this work because she's got to start doing a little bit of turnover here on money because, you know, now AI is tearing everything up. Yes, I did buy a Vegeta shirt, third shirt. Yeah, I'm a big Vegeta fan. I don't know if you can see my stuff in the background. There's a, I think it's stuck. But I have a bunch of stuff in the background on that table. So, and the plaque, the picture, I don't know if you saw this. Pick this off without knocking everything down. You would probably like this nightmare thing. My son made this for me. Check that out. We're going to hold it up there. It's on linoleum. It's nice. Maybe a couple Godzilla ones too. Yeah, I like that. Isn't that cool? It's pretty long, as you can see. But yeah, he made that for me for my birthday. I'll get it later. I knew that was going to happen. Just watching the horrible story about Peanut and the squirrel, Peanut the squirrel, and Fred the raccoon, really sad and disgusting. Really? Yeah, 1 second, folks. Sorry about that. My son going, what happened? I made a mess. Thank God nothing major broke. That I have to check that out. Is it pretty bad? Yeah. What was that on? YouTube, or was it on TV or something? Rainwater is really sweet. She's always come in and says, I don't know if it's a girl or a man, so forgive me, Rainwater. But thank you for, I do appreciate you when you come in and say hello. I don't know how long you hang around, but I appreciate it a lot. Been all over the news and all over social media for days. Really, I haven't seen it. But Facebook, I do because of Gemma. And then I get on and look at pictures and just kind of scroll. I don't stay on for very long, check notifications, and that's it. As for other social media, I don't do any. YouTube, but I'll have to look for it. Maybe I shouldn't, but I'll have to check it out. I haven't seen it on the news. Pretty bad, huh? Horrible, sad, and disgusting. Interesting. Okay. Now I have to check it out now. See how bad it is. I hate when they do that stuff. I do. I hope everybody else is having a morning night. Like I said, I usually start the uploads and probably about 12:30. Probably will start a little early. I'll stay in chat. It's easy on my voice. That's one thing I do like about Gemma's Replay. I can now kind of chill out on the old voice. Peanut was an internet animal star for 7 years. New York government raided his owner's home, took him and killed. What? Now I got to go check this out. That's just ridiculous. That's just nuts. He's been on TV hundreds of times. If I see it, I'll know it right off click. He wouldn't be the one that rides the surfboard. I've seen a squirrel on a surfboard. I've seen a squirrel on a skateboard. That's messed up. Do they give the reason why they did? Well, I'll have to go find out. But I'm sure if it's been on TV, I've probably seen it. Is it local, Chris, or is this somewhere? Let me go check this out real quick. The Guardian. Okay. Oh man, Oh, was a risk factor. That's ridiculous. That's just ridiculous. I'll go back and read that, and then I'll go look it up. That's just messed up. Yeah, I'll go look at it. I'll go read it, and I'm going to go check out the saying stuff, too. I love it when you guys drop links, because I do go check them out, and I keep the ones I want to keep and go back to them. That's messed up. You know, they can get rabies shots. I don't know if people know that you can go get those animals rabies shots just like you can a dog. I know, what was it about? I was probably in my early 20s, about 2021. I had a friend who had bats, who had 2 brown bats. They were pets. He raised them from babies. And they made him get rid of them because of rabies. But they were real nice about it because they allowed him to give them to the Columbus Zoo. And then the Columbus Zoo acclimated them and released them out in the the wild. I guess they did real good. No squirrel giving humans rabies has ever been reported. I didn't think so, because I don't ever remember, even around here, anything like that. Now, coons are a little different story. I had a friend that got bit by a coon, and he had to have rabies shots. He had to have the, rabies. And man, I felt bad for him because they hurt. But I've never heard of a squirrel ever doing that. Not once. Not once. That's wild. That is really wild. Yeah, I don't understand that. Now, I could see them making him give it up and putting it out, taking it out to the wild, destroying it. But see, we had a raccoon. We had a baby raccoon when I lived on campus on OSU with some friends a couple of years back, not that long ago, probably about 8 years ago, 9 years ago. And a mom had abandoned one of her babies, and it was hiding all tucked up in a corner. And I was afraid to touch it and stuff because I didn't want to freak it out. So I called animal control. And they told me just to leave it be. They weren't going to come and get it. And I said, are you serious? You're not going to come and get it and release it out into the wild? I mean, it was old enough that it could take care of itself. They wouldn't come get it. But he finally disappeared after about 2 or 3 hours after I'd called. I just kind of watched over him. Then I went up and did a few things, came back out, and he was gone. So I'm hoping mom came back and got him, or he finally found mom or wandered off. Peanut had millions of followers. First squirrel to hit 1 million on Instagram. Wouldn't surprise me one bit. That's wild. Like I said, I can understand the coon, but not the squirrel. I know a lot of people that have squirrels for pets. I mean, not personally, but I know a lot of people do. Same thing with chipmunks. I know a couple people that had chipmunks for. Now, I do know people that had chipmunks. That was years ago. That's wild. It's sad. It really is sad. Oh, excuse me. But we got some people in here, and I'm going to say it again. Once again, thank you for Friday night. That's probably how it's going to run for a while, and see how that goes. Also, a lot of you 5 in here, and anybody that might be listening, or you can pass the word around, and I'll say it again later. Mark Halstead is having some issues. They put him in hospice. So please keep him in your prayers. He's kind of having a rough moment. So yeah, please keep the guy in your prayers. Send him a lot of love. You had a chipmunk for 8 years? Yeah. But yeah, please keep him in your heart and your prayers for him. Send him a little love and light. Yeah, I'm a little worried about him. I noticed something was up when he disappeared Friday night. He came in, said hello, and then he was gone. But also, a lot of people are still going to have to adjust to the new thing, but everybody was so polite about it. So I love that, and we'll figure it out as we go. But the poor woman's got to make some cash. Yes, please keep him in your prayers. Mark's a good guy. He's really good about feeding the dragon and passing the bacon. So yes, keep him in your prayers. And Gemma will keep us in touch. I'm sure he'll keep in touch with us or through Gemma or me. Gemma's the one that told me today. So please, yeah, keep him in your prayers. His treatments weren't working, so they had to put him in. So yes. I believe she did talk to him, so he might not be doing too bad right now. But yes, keep him in your prayers. And like I said, tonight's video is going to be, I want to do 2 on her demons encounters. Thought that'd be fun. Since we just got done with Halloween, I might do 1 or 2. And everybody else have any ideas for upcoming ones or see a video you might want to see? I like to do older ones first. So if you see an older one you want to watch with us and talk about, we can do that. I won't be on Wednesday nights, but I will be here Thursday at 8 p.m. I believe we are having Tuesday talk. I will make sure everybody knows. One of us will let everybody know come tomorrow night or Monday. But as far as I know, Tuesday talk is a go. I'll have to leave right at 2. I have a doctor coming here to talk to me and about my voice and some things. Then Wednesday's done now. Spooky time will be moved to Thursday nights at 8 for a while until Pixie's ready to come back. And then, of course, intuitive oracles with 1 card with Gemma on Fridays at 7:15. Then I'll do my midnight show like tonight on Saturdays. Like I said, people have any ideas. Thursday nights, I'll probably do guests too during spooky time. There's a couple of people I'm going to try to line up. Latro, anybody else. I may try to get Edna on here, and anybody else. And then whatever we do on Tuesdays too. So we're going to hopefully start doing, once we get to rolling. Gemma had it bad, but then again, my son did too. They both had, I think, pretty much the same thing. They hung around with both of them. She actually sounded real good today, so hopefully she gets back in the swing of things. But yeah, and like I said, tonight's video is upload. I like to call them uploads. Is Claire, my first encounter with a demon, and I believe that is going to be a good one. And then we'll go from there. Remember to hit that like, please. Links are on the screen and in the description box for her books. Please check them out. I still got 2 more I got to get, but I have them all on audio, but I'd like to have the hard copies. Let's see what else. Oh, help the channel if you can, and be a member. That's a great way to make sure you get on, get a reading on Friday. And like she said, on Fridays, what we're going to do is if you're already a member, you'll get a reading automatically. And then if you're not, but you want a reading, you can donate through YouTube. If you donate through YouTube, it's $4. If you donate through CashApp or PayPal or like my Venmo, it's $2. I think that's fair for right now until we get her back on her feet again. And then you just let us know you by putting a cash sign, a couple cash signs saying you paid. But yeah, I think right now it's the best way. And then I think she's also thinking maybe just do a members oracle reading, 1 card oracle reading, then like an hour, 2 hour for regulars. But we're going to go with this for right now, and I'm going to let her make that judgment call as we go. We need to get the channel going. I want to get her some more software so she can do a little bit more with her videos, with her uploads. I like to call them uploads. I don't know why I call them videos, but when I'm not on, I call them uploads. I got the stories I didn't get to tell last Wednesday. I had no voice Wednesday night. I was coming on, and then everybody else was streaming, and it was like everybody's telling me, Steve, you sound horrible. I was stuttering. My voice was in and out really bad. So it was like, just rest, dude. So that's what I did. And then Thursday, I ended up sitting outside with trick-or-treaters actually for a couple hours. We got a pretty good crew this year. I liked handing out candy. I missed trick-or-treating, but it was nice to see all the kids back in the neighborhood again. How did everybody else do? Did everybody else get a good, hey, Ronald, Riley, because I know you like that better. How you doing, sir? I hope you're having a good one. I hope everybody had a good Halloween and a good safe one. And did you guys get a lot of trick-or-treaters? Or, you know, the big thing now is that trunk or treat like she did Friday night. She probably shouldn't have. She felt it afterwards from what she said. I'm doing good. Voice a little messed up, but I'm good. I'm good. I am good. But yeah, that trick or treat, I think it's nice. It's safe. But it was, I mean, I was surprised how many kids were out. But I was also a little bummed out that there was a lot of houses that didn't end up candy. But it was also good because the people that did all like sat out in their front yards and made a nice big, you know, the people that were out, you know, made it all fun. So it was nice. It was good. But I didn't get a pumpkin this year because I didn't think I was going to be here, to be honest. I was hoping to be somewhere else, but that Pop's been having issues, so I kind of wanted to stay close to home. But he's good. He's getting old, just like all of us. Like all of us. And Riley, are you having a good one? Did you have a good Halloween? Or those who celebrate Halloween? And if you didn't celebrate Halloween, what'd you do? What'd you watch that night, Chris? I watched Trick or Treat, not the original one with the pumpkin head kid. Like I got in the background. Man, I'm gonna have a mess to clean up. Oh my gosh, fell over. That's all right. I watched Trick or Treat. I always watch that. Then I watched Bad Moon. Then I watched Dog Soldiers. Then I watched The Howling. I did Werewolves for some reason. And then I ended the night with Exorcist. I always watch The Exorcist at midnight I watched that Wednesday night at midnight while I laid in bed. I turned the TV around. Dad goes, I don't know how you watch that in the dark. Still messes with him. I got used to it. And I watched the director's cut because they had a lot more to it. You watched Long Legs. And you said that was pretty good, right? And The Great Pumpkin. Yeah, I watched Charlie Brown. I watched it Thursday afternoon. Yeah, I watched it Thursday afternoon with Pops out in the living room, out in the den. We watch it together because he still loves Charlie Brown. And I have all those on DVD, so I don't have to worry about them. A lot of people were upset they took it off TV for a while, and they was like, "No, you gotta bring it back." I know, was it Paramount? Who is the one? The people that has Monarch. Gosh, I'm doing so good here. Shows you my brain doesn't always work. Apple TV also has it on there. And yes, it was good. Watch, I haven't seen Smile 1, and everybody says to watch it. So was Smile 2 good? If Smile 2, if you see Smile 2 was at least okay, I may check them both out. I wasn't sure about that one. I heard most people seem to like it. Okay, I'll have to check it out. I'll check them both out. I'll watch them one night after another. I like to watch them. When I know there's two, I try to watch them one right after the other. I'm just checking to make sure I didn't miss anything. Oops. Yeah, I got to figure out why I keep flipping the screen on Gemma, because she thinks I'm clicking the boxes and I'm not. I must be a button or something I have, because it's usually when I'm trying to type in the box, in my YouTube box, and put names in. So who knows? But yeah, we're going to start the videos here, uploads. I'm going to go ahead and get ready to start them. I'm glad you like that. I'm going to have to watch both those. Okay, let me get this one set up. And hopefully some more come in. Let me get this going here. I got to pause it as soon as it stop. Okay. Full screen it. There we go. No, I can't do that yet. Dang it. I got to share it first. Okay. Why does it do this? Okay. No. Okay, there we go. It gives me such a hard time sometimes. Watch the last episode of Agatha all along. Yeah, Giles, my son seems to like that too. So I might check it out. 1 second.
What is up, you guys? Welcome back to my channel. And if you're new here, just welcome. My name is Gemma Jade, but today I'm doing something just a little bit different. A lot of you have been asking me for my paranormal stories. So I was going to do, like my encounters, like I do the listener encounters. And I had one story that I wrote for a magazine article that I turned it into, like, instead of just freely telling it like I'm going to do the rest of them, I decided to write it out for them. So I thought we would have a little scary short story in honor of Halloween. I hope you guys like it. And yeah, let's get started. Ever since I was a little girl, back to the very first memory I have, I've been able to see, hear, and sense spirits. Yes, I'm speaking now of the spirits of the dead, people who have died and yet remained either still in this realm or in between here and there. I don't know why I've been chosen, but at 38 years old, I finally stopped being terrified and started seeking answers. If I wrote about every single encounter I have had over the last 34 years that I can remember, I would probably be able to write at least a trilogy, but more than likely it would be an ongoing thing, like the Encyclopedia Britannica with their many volumes and books with impossible amounts of pages. Here is one story that sticks out much more than the others. It starts when I was about 8 years old. My parents had just divorced and I got to stay with my dad and my sister, who was my only friend. She went to live with my mom. My father and I were moving into a new apartment on the other side of the town we'd lived in, just the two of us. This was especially frustrating for me because I would have to switch schools. I was in the 4th grade by this time, and it had been hard enough for me to make the handful of friends I had in the school I was in. Middle school is where all the cliques start, and I was too awkward for all of that. I was always sort of a leader. I refused to follow people, and that doesn't bode well with the popular and mean girls. I went my own way. I did my own thing. It also didn't help me that I always had my head in a book, and whatever I was reading at the time was far more advanced than the summer reading lists the schools handed out. I was strange. I was different. I didn't fit in with anyone, and I was a very lonely kid because of it. None of this really mattered at all, though, because when you're 8 years old, you go where your parents or your parent brings you. You don't have a choice. I didn't have a choice. Finally, the day to move had arrived. My father and I loaded some things in his little pickup truck and drove over to our new apartment. I loved it right away because it was an old 3-story house and it was painted bright pink. We lived in the second house from the corner of a small dead-end street, maybe 10 houses on the street, and that's being generous. I noticed right away at the end of this street there was a huge gate. Behind it, some sort of large wooded area. Note to self, I thought, I gotta explore those woods the first chance I get. I imagined finding a large rock somewhere out in the middle of the woods, perhaps a rotted log where I could sit and read my books in private with nobody bothering or badgering me. I must have been daydreaming. Suddenly, I realized there were 2 girls about my age standing right in front of me, introducing themselves. We'll just call them Fiona and Sophia because they're irrelevant to the story. I said hello and told them my name as I stood awkwardly holding a giant box of books in both hands. They giggled and asked what was in the box. I told them it was my books. And so it began. The incessant teasing, being called nerd and bookworm and egghead, all of those ridiculous but hurtful for a kid to hear all the time names kids call other kids to make themselves feel better. Once school started, which was just a few weeks off, they would tell everyone that I was a nerd or a dork, and the teasing would begin all over again. I excused myself as luckily my father had called me into the apartment right at that moment, and I had an excuse to go inside. I roamed the large apartment and found my bedroom right away. The walls were painted bright pink like the outside of the house, and it had this closet that stuck out from the wall a little bit, like an armoire, but made of wood and attached to the wall. I walked into the huge bathroom and saw a giant clawfoot tub. My dad came in and told me that was his favorite part about the whole place. He said it was the same tub from when the house was built in 1935. This was 1991, and that seemed like a very long time ago. The one thing I noticed as I finished exploring the place and went back into my pink bedroom to unpack some of my things, the house had soul. I could feel the energy in the air. The hairs all on my body tingled, and it felt like an electric shock anytime I went near the wooden armoire or the clawfoot tub. See, by this time I was used to these feelings. These were the feelings of the good memories of the people who have come and gone through the apartment in all of its years standing there. Not spirits, you see, but just people. The memories we create, both good and bad, stay in the walls and objects left behind. The armoire, while a part of the wall and not technically left behind, held the energy of the little girl who used it before me. There were several of them in the bright pink room, of that I was sure. Of course, the walls had a fresh coat of paint, and just by putting my hand up against them and closing my eyes, I could clearly see in my mind's eye my dad lovingly painting the first stroke of the new pink on top of the old faded color. Clairsentience, as it's called, came very naturally to me, and all of this was pretty normal. It was like watching a movie in my head. The same would be for when I knew a spirit was around me. I hadn't ever been able to see one yet, not at this point in my life, but I would see images very clearly in my head of what the spirit had looked like in life and what had happened to them. Sometimes the visions would be scary, and that's how I would know something evil and bad was around me. This is when I would usually go to sleep with my parents. I'd been so busy unpacking and going through my things, I hadn't noticed another surprise my dad had for me. Before the divorce, my sister and I had bunk beds. She was older, so she always slept on the top bunk, and I stayed on the bottom. Well, instead of keeping the bunk beds up or just getting rid of the top bunk and leaving me with a normal bed, like just the bottom, my father decided to get rid of the bottom bunk, and that way underneath my bed was a really large open space. A space he knew I would love to sit under and read. At night, sometimes I would put a sheet up and sit underneath there with my flashlight just reading. It felt like having another room altogether there under my big bed. Once we made a few more trips back to the old place, we finally had all of our stuff to move into the new pink house. I was so happy. I loved that it was just me and my dad. On the opposite corner where the main road was, there was a little Italian restaurant, and my dad called them and ordered us a pizza and some sandwiches. He asked me if I was up for running across the street and picking everything up. I buy, you fly. That was one of my dad's favorite sayings. It always made me giggle as I would imagine flying like a little pixie wherever it was he wanted me to go. Fairies have been somewhat of a lifelong obsession for me, but that's another story altogether. When the 20 or so minutes had passed and the food was supposed to be ready, I headed over the 30 steps or so to this restaurant. I must admit, I was nervous about running into those mean girls again. As a psychic kid who was odd enough already, adding on top I'm a Pisces as well, I avoided confrontation at all costs. I still do to this day, only now I know this comes from my Libra moon as well. Anyway, I went across the street and didn't see the girls anywhere. I went inside, picked up the food, and headed back across the street and a few steps to my front door. That's when I heard it. It was like a wild animal screaming at the top of its lungs, whether in hunger or pain, I didn't know. I know, though, it was absolutely terrifying as we lived in a big city in northern New Jersey. The most wildlife I had ever encountered were squirrels, raccoons, and maybe a stray rat here and there if I was so unlucky as to have to walk around on garbage day. I turned my head and focused. The screech was coming from that wooded area behind the gate at the end of the dead end side of the street. I ran inside and didn't look back. I expected my father to have heard the screeching or howl, whatever it was, but he didn't say anything, so neither did I. We ate our food and went to bed. The first night in the new apartment was peaceful and relaxing. I was having the visions again, but this time more vivid and of a little girl. The girl who lived here before me, I was sure. She was giggling in my room, running her hand through what I sensed were all the new dresses she had gotten in that wooden armoire. Just as I started to drift off to sleep, though, something new happened. Something new and something terrifying, too. She looked directly at me and began to speak. Hi, I'm Claire. What's your name? I opened my eyes and immediately ran to go sleep in my dad's room. I'll try to make this ridiculously long story shorter here and save you all the sordid details of my life at this new middle school and my new 4th grade class. It was hell. I'll leave it at that. Kids can be really cruel. Ever since the night Claire had turned and spoke to me, the night when she was a vision, but not, as she knew I could see her and obviously wanted to make friends, she was all I thought about. Every day after school, I would walk the 5 or 6 blocks home and make myself a snack while I did my homework and waited for my dad to get home. After this, I would go in my room and close my eyes and hang out with Claire. I had been doing this for weeks, ever since my second night in the house when she turned to me again and started nonchalantly speaking to me about how her daddy had brought her all of those new dresses she couldn't wait to wear to school. I'd stopped reading under my bed by now and spent all of my free time there in my room with my eyes closed, having conversations with this other young girl. A girl, I might add, I knew was deceased. She knew she was dead too. It was like it never came up. It was just something we both knew and accepted. It was also strange because I was physically in my room with all of my things and yet in her room in my mind with her. Though they were one and the same, they were different. It was like I was crossing over into some other realm or something. Like some unseen portal had been opened and now I could access this other pink room, which was still my room, but it was Claire's room, by just closing my eyes. Since starting my odd friendship with her, I hadn't been seeing any other visions. No warnings of this person getting hurt or that person having an accident, which is what I would normally see before I met Claire. I had never even known who the other people in the visions were, let alone how to reach out and connect with them. I just knew they were real, and what I was seeing happening to them was either really about to happen or already had. I was too young and inexperienced to make any kind of distinction. Claire and I would laugh in my mind and talk telepathically and even play every day. This went on for months. I'd moved into the apartment with Dad in the big pink house at the end of August. By the time November rolled around, all I did was hang out with Claire. My father wasn't too worried because it had always been normal for me to retreat to my room and sit in the closet and read all by myself. I would escape into a world of books. This was so much better, though, because this was somehow real. One day, though, when I went under my bed and closed my eyes, Claire was crying, sitting there on the floor right in front of me. Before I could ask her what was wrong, though, I felt something touch my face. I jumped and opened my eyes, and there she was. She was right there under my bed with me. I could not only see her, but feel her breath on my face. I could hear her out loud, and not just in my mind as she wept. I probably could have wiped her tears away had I thought to, just to reassure myself she was tangible and I wasn't losing my mind. I asked her out loud what was wrong. She shook her head and spoke telepathically. Like this, she said. I just nodded in agreement and asked her again, using my inside voice, what was wrong and why she was crying. She said she wanted to show me something. I followed her out from under my bed and into the chilly night air. It wasn't quite dark yet, but it was cold. My dad wasn't home yet, so I figured I could be out for a little while without leaving a note. She started walking towards the gated wooded area that I had gone out of my way to stay away from since the night I heard whatever that was, shriek or howl like that. She took my hand and reassured me it would be okay. Nothing to fear because she was with me and would protect me. It never occurred to me at that age to ask her what exactly I would need protection from. We slipped under the large gate and started walking a little trail deeper into the woods. I followed along diligently, ever the loyal friend, never asking questions for fear of rejection from the spirit who had become my only friend. She had been laughing and even dancing now, playfully humming a tune out loud the whole time. I didn't even notice when she stopped crying and became so cheerful. I also didn't realize this was all meant to distract me. We were talking out loud now, and I stopped and asked her where we were going. I told her I was cold and my dad would be very worried as I was sure he was home by now. I hadn't left a note, I explained. Oh, don't worry about that. You'll be back in your bedroom in no time, she said. This is when the entire atmosphere changed. I realized we were standing in the middle of a large circle of stones, and there were weird things hanging from the trees, branches tied together and made into weird shapes, hanging from ropes from down from all the trees. Her voice had changed as well. Close your eyes. And it was that, like, don't know how to explain it. She demanded it in a very cold voice and somewhat evil tone. I was terrified, but did as I was told. It was like a flash of light, and there I was. I was standing in that other place again, the place where Claire had come from. I heard screaming and looked over, and there it was. I couldn't believe what I was witnessing. It was a group of teenagers dressed in black cloaks chanting, and in the middle of the circle was a large alley cat. They were devil worshippers, and they were sacrificing this animal to Satan in the hopes of conjuring a demon. I knew all of this instinctively, and though the air had shifted and I knew I was no longer there in my realm, or whatever you want to call it, with Claire, I wasn't exactly in the woods with the teenagers either. I was somewhere in between. I heard the chanting get louder and the cat scream. Then there was nothing but silence. I watched as all of the teenagers took off running at the sight of something I couldn't yet see. I wish I could say I never got the chance to see it, but that would be a lie. It was some kind of monster, some horrific creature from hell, a demonic beast who was out for blood. It had been conjured and called forth, and it was going to claim what rightfully belonged to it, a human soul. The teenagers were long gone by now, and it was just me and this thing. It looked right at me. This should have been impossible, I thought, as I was only kind of remote viewing, if you will. I was actually still in the woods in 1991 with my spirit friend Claire. The thing's eyes flashed a bright green and it screamed at me. I took off running. I realized much later on that the scream I heard that first night in the house wasn't of the alley cat. Oh no, no, it was of this beast thing. It had been suddenly unleashed long ago and now roamed the woods at night looking for its sacrifice. Suddenly I felt my body jerk quickly, and before I knew what had happened, I was back in the woods with Claire, both my mind, spirit, and body. I looked at Claire in fear and horror and asked her why she had just shown me that. She smiled at me, her teeth now pointed and her eyes flashing that same sickening green as the demon just moments before. Suddenly, there was this foul stench of rotted flesh and sulfur in the air. She opened her mouth and screamed. That's all I can remember. I awoke to the sound of my father calling my name from somewhere close by. I was too weak, cold, and also scared to call back. I let out a pathetic, "Daddy, help," which I'm sure he wouldn't have heard had he been right next to me. Suddenly, I noticed how cold I was. When I woke up again, I was at home in my bed. My dad was standing over me with a look of concern on his face. That was a look I knew well. My dad was always concerned with his weird daughter who talked about spirits, ghosts, and the dead all the time, and who never had any real friends. Only the kind he called imaginary, if he only knew the half of it. I never told my dad or anyone else what happened to me that day, and eventually the memory faded a little bit at a time. It never went away completely, mind you. I mean, how could it? As I got older and had experience after experience with spirits and ghosts and even a negative entity here and there, I finally realized what had happened. I was becoming possessed. Claire had been a demon unleashed in the woods behind the big pink house several decades before I lived there. It must have been roaming those woods just waiting. My psychic light must have been visible to it somehow from the first night when I went to get that food. That's why it howled. Being demonic and having knowledge beyond what we can ever understand, it knew I was clairvoyant and clairsentient. It gave me Claire as a playmate, and had it not been for my father looking for me that night and showing up right when he did, I probably would have either been possessed or killed. I'm not sure which one. People always say these things can't hurt you, but I know they can. Like I said, I could fill several volumes of books with my personal stories and encounters alone, and I will give you guys more videos in listener encounters style. We lived in that apartment for about 5 years after that, and I never saw Claire or the demon thing again. Never heard it either. To be fair, this is when I started learning to block my light and stop my psychic senses from just picking things up without me reaching for them. I learned to control it to the best of my ability, at least. I've gotten better at this over the years, and I do know how to protect myself now. I often wonder, though, if that demon attached itself to me somehow, at least a little bit. I've had far more positive encounters with friendly and well-meaning entities since that day way back in 1991. However, I know how to reach out now and also how to turn it off. I've learned to not blindly follow those things in which I don't understand. Most importantly, though, through the years, I have experienced both good and bad due to my psychic abilities. I still wonder if someday I'll close my eyes and I'll be there, back in those woods at the end of the dead-end road, a few steps away from my beloved big pink house. The woods are still there. somehow managing to stay standing despite all of the condos and shopping malls, parking lots, and coffee shops that have since sprung up all around that tiny little street. The big pink house is still there too. I wonder if the old wooden armoire and the claw tub are still there. I wonder if the walls in the bedroom are still pink. I wonder if the little girl I've seen playing outside a time or two when I happen to have driven by has a friend named Claire, a special friend who will one day take her for a walk down memory lane in those creepy woods nearby the house. Guys, that is my first encounter with a demon. Please give this video a big thumbs up if you enjoyed it, if you enjoyed spending this time with me. Also, spread the love by sharing this video. Subscribe if you haven't already. I don't think you'll be disappointed. Please do me a huge favor and check out the description box, not just for links, but also for information. If you have any encounters with the supernatural and or paranormal, you will find my email in the description box, GemmaJadeParanormal@gmail.com. Also, there will be links to the live streams, campfire stories on Friday nights on Missing Persons and Mysteries with the panel. We have guests.
Let me get the sound off here. Switch it real quick because I'm going to do another one too in a minute. Kind of a follow-up. I just leave it you're not. Let me get this other one ready to go here in a little bit. I'll probably do one more. Kind of space them out a little bit. Where's the other one? Come on, come on. No, Mike, you would be surprised. People are opening up a lot more about their experiences, and I've had some weird ones. You've heard me talk. You'd probably be just fine, dude. Just enough to have a good time. Yeah, I pretty much is very open, and Gemma's the same way. And she's gotten some pretty crazy listening encounters. Some of them actually have gone in the books. Now, I played most of them. I haven't done some of the newer ones, but I've played all of the older ones. So if you haven't seen or watched her listener encounters, go into her library. They're all there. Okay, there's the first one. And we already did the first of the demonic depression. I was trying to find. There it is. And then the next one we'll do is real demonic hauntings and a house with 200 demons attached to it. Let me put this down for right now. Yeah, that's a good encounter. When she first told me that encounter, it sounded like a friend of mine that had almost a similar experience, and she was a girl, kind of like Gemma, back in middle school. She would talk to me about it because it kind of creeped her out. At the same time, she buddied up with this thing. Oh, I'm something much different. I just assumed between the thunder and lightning that you were Zeus. Okay. I didn't read that first. That's funny. I'm something much different. No, he's Thor. But yeah, she was still having in 8th grade. See, our middle school were in 7th and 8th, probably just like most of you guys. Okay, Chris, just keep it a little unpolitical. I've heard enough politics today. But she was still kind of conversing with this thing in 8th grade too. And when we left 8th grade, I knew she was still talking to this thing. And I guess from what I'd heard, she was still very close to this thing. She didn't return. She didn't go to the same high school as me, or ninth grade, because our ninth grade at the time was separate building than the high school. And she didn't show up. I never heard more about her. I hope she's okay. But she would tell me some pretty creepy stuff that was going on at night with this. She called it Samsey. Samsey. That's how I think she pronounced it. It was really weird. But she was like me. That's how I knew her, because she was in the comic books like me. And she said they would sit, in the corner of a room and read comic books together. And she would just tell me these weird conversations they would have. I was like, honey, you should be talking to this thing. Yeah, I've heard enough. I had an interesting time at the store today, and I just don't want to get into it. I witnessed some things that made me very sad. Made me realize how much divided they really have us. And this place usually is so chill. I've never seen anything bad, but what I walked in today at the store just bummed me out. So you can tell everybody's getting all before elections. So just keep it calm, keep it funny. That's all I ask. I mean, these two ladies, I thought they were going to beat the crap out of each other. It was just ridiculous. It's sad. Thunder and lightning follows me. Unfortunately, it doesn't always rain. Are you sure it's not just thunder? Sometimes, nah, I'm not going to go there. Well, I guess it'd be lightning too if you were lightning. That's bad. I'm shutting up. That was horrible. So you're electric. That's fun. We could use the rain. It's probably just as dry down there, Chris, as it is up here. I mean, we barely. Did you get any rain that other day, Chris? We barely got anything. Unless I had beans the night before. No, I'll tell you what, these two ladies, well, I made my dad soup beans. Big, huge pan. And then we break it out and freeze some of it for him. But that guy ate a whole tub full. And then the lady that used to live across the street felt bad because she moved. She got married and moved. And when we had the fire, she had given Dad this homemade bean soup that had all kinds of beans, and I'm freezing all kinds of beans and stuff. And it was nice. I mean, it had meat. It actually looked like a bean stew. It had potatoes, a little bit of ham, all that stuff in it. It looked really good. It smelled awesome. Well, then she turned around and brought that over, a big, huge tub of it. And I tell you what, living in this house for the last couple of days have been a nightmare. I keep telling Dad I have to go out and light up my cigarette because I'm afraid I'll blow the house up. All the gas. But her smelled way better. Mine smelled good, but her smelled so much better. And I don't eat it, but I don't mind making it for you. A couple of hours. Need a can of Lysol. That didn't help. Believe me. When you're 90 years old, believe me. There were times, man, that he'd clear a room out just with a little one. Pinto beans with ham and bacon, fried potatoes, and cornbread. Now you're talking right up his alley. And that he's happy just with that alone. Ooh. I know there's a lot going on this weekend too, so I figured I'd have a light crew. I know Michigan Rob decided not to start at 12 tonight. He started at 12:20. I don't know why, but that's fine. It gives options. Like I said, I'm just here for fun and giggles. Play some replays and chit chat with you guys and ladies, whoever's in the background, whoever's listening. I'll start the other one here in a minute. Yep, it's 1 a.m. now. It sure is. I got 1:01. You know, it's really weird because I have 3 clocks in my room. It's like they all have 3 different times. One just turned 1. One says 1 after 1, and the other one says 2 after 1. But I also keep one over by my bed, and I keep it fast for a reason because I always like to be early. That one I'll have to set back and hit by hand later before I go to bed. I don't know why moving back an hour doesn't bother me, man. Every time we spring forward an hour, it screws me up every time. I'm going to watch S.D.N.Y, but Kamala is the guest. I'm telling you what, Saturday Night Live sucks now. I'm sorry. I've tried to watch it a couple times. I guess I'm just too old school. You know, I was growing up during all the primo time of Saturday Night Live. Everything's so propaganda now and so one-sided. It's not fun anymore. Nobody I'm in the days when everybody made fun of everything, you know. But I don't want to go there. Like I said, it was an interesting way to end my night before I came home from the store. But I'll tell you what, Kroger here that I go to is usually really nice, pretty well organized. I mean, I walked in there and it literally looked like they had a raid or something. I mean, food was everywhere. It was the worst I'd ever seen it. Even worse than the coup when it came to stock being gone. It literally looked like somebody came in there. A bunch of people came in there, just took everything. I mean, a lot of stuff was on sale and they cleaned it out. They were like fighting to get it back together. It was a mess. It really sucks since they had almost all the cast quit 2 years. Yeah. I would say it pretty much started going down a little bit before 2 years ago. But yeah, the show itself pretty much hit bottom after all that happened. And every so often they have a good one or a good skit, you know. It's not like the whole show was good anymore, which is sad because I'd watch Saturday Night Live. Then after Saturday Night Live was the midnight special. And I miss that. That was always cool. And then after midnight special here, we would have one of the channels would show old horror movies. And with me not sleeping, even back then, it always gave me something to watch. Though I gotta admit, I've been sleeping really good the last few months when I go to sleep, when I can get myself to go to sleep. I just watched the Weekend Update skit. Was it good this time? Was Kamala in it? And she's not funny at all. One of the worst guests they probably could have on here. It's probably word salad the whole time. Even in jokes, probably word salad. They probably try to put some dressing on that to make it a little better, or at least a little funnier. That was a bad joke. Yeah, no, not tonight, but yeah, I try to catch one. I was watching it a while back. I haven't watched it. Well, every so often I go check on it and I just give up and walk away. But that was one of my favorite segments was the Weekend Updates. Let me get this the video ready. Okay. Oh, I actually did that on time this time. Impressive. Okay. Let's see. And we're ready for that. I'm done with training at the academy. It's only a 12-week program. Oh, that's cool. But you're done now? That's good. Did you have a good time? Did you have fun at least when you did it? I know, I mean, your training is basically. In an hour or two, I'll be watching Toast the Key. Oh, yeah. There you go. And I usually wait and watch those. I mean, for the season? That's what I thought you meant. I'm having one of those days too. Don't feel bad, Mike. And let me get this one going. And while we're in between, for those that pop in and coming and going, those who know Mark Halstead, please send him a lot of prayers and love and light. His treatments haven't been working out, so they put him in hospice. So please send him a lot of love, a lot of light. He could use it. Send him a little love on Facebook. If you got him friend on Facebook, he really could use it. I also want to thank people for Friday night. Kind of how things will be going from here on out. And I love the way people were really cool about it. Thank you so much. We do appreciate it. Just till we get things rocking again. And this next upload is real demon hauntings and a house with 200 demons attached to it and the haunting of the beam. Let me get this going here. Shared. And here we go. Share. Let me turn it to big time.
What is up, you guys? Welcome back to my channel. And if you're new here, just welcome. My name is Gemma Jade, but today I have
and if you have problems hearing it, please let me know, okay?
So I'm almost always dealing in the paranormal no matter what I'm doing, but because it's Halloween season, I really didn't get to do much last year, and the stuff I tried to do kind of fell on deaf ears because I wasn't that good at it and I had like 70 subscribers. So I wanted to do something this year and I wasn't sure what. So I think just from now until Halloween, I'm going to go like super scary as best as I can. We'll see how it goes, but I think you guys are really going to enjoy this. I found two
Edna might be
really creepy,
resting tonight.
actually really scary
Somebody upset her big
events
around
of
home.
seemingly demonic
I hope she
hauntings
went
in
and kind of
houses.
calmed her
And
soul.
the first one, the guy wrote a book, and I explain a little bit in here that without buying the book, I don't know a ton of what happened, but I do plan on buying that book and revisiting this haunting. But here's like an overall picture. And the second one, you're just going to have to wait and see. So let's jump right in.
Yeah, you may want to turn
In
up your sound on
2002,
this one.
paranormal author and lecturer Bill Bean shared his experience with living in and surviving a true demonic haunting. In 1970, the Bean family bought a house just outside of Baltimore, Maryland, and right away, they started to experience some rather strange things. One of the first things reportedly happening in this haunted den of demons was when young Bill, only 7 at the time, heard pounding and banging coming from the roof right above his bedroom. Of course, his parents and the rest of the family kind of dismissed this as maybe a random noise, or as always, the imaginings of a young boy who has an overactive imagination. Also, not too long after moving in, the family began to experience random doors, mainly the one in their back bedroom, opening all by themselves and violently slamming shut again. This isn't just like a door creeping open. This is like bam, over and over again. This would go on all night long and sometimes even happen during the day as well. Not too long after Bill told his parents what he was hearing on his roof at night, his mother, Patricia, started to think that maybe there was something to what her son had been experiencing and what her son had been telling her. Very soon after he was telling his parents this and after they were dismissing it and all of that, Patricia was on the phone with her mother and she wasn't anywhere near the bathroom when this happened. Nobody else was in the house when this happened either. The sink in the bathroom overflowed and flooded the entire room, started kind of coming out into the hallway before Patricia noticed it. It turned on by itself and did this, according to her. She noticed that most of the activity would happen when she was there by herself. Her husband was at work, the kids were in school, and she was being haunted. She would complain that she would make all of the beds in the house, and then immediately upon leaving the rooms, the beds would be tossed and unmade again. There was no logical explanation for this because there was nobody else, no other human in the house with her at the time that these things were happening. It happened constantly to the point where she considered just not doing her daily chores around the home anymore because whatever she had cleaned or fixed, the entities or whatever they were would just go right behind her and like mess everything up anyways. The man of the house, Patricia's husband and Bill's father, whose name is George, suddenly and progressively became angry and developed a drinking problem. He would also leave the house and not come back for days at a time. This was not the usual behavior for him, as he was known as a family man who loved and took care of his wife and children. Billy's older sister, Patty, was terrified of her own bedroom. She hated being anywhere near it or in the hallway that was attached to it. And this is the same hallway, and I'm pretty sure the same bedroom where the door would constantly slam. She claims it was freezing cold, even in the summertime. She so desperately wanted to escape that house that she married at 16 years old just as a means to get away from whatever was haunting not only the police, but seemingly her family as well. That's really sad. As I said, there's a whole book out that Bill Bean wrote. So the details I could gather online without purchasing the book, like, I think there's a lot more to this and I'm kind of excited about it. So that's what I'm saying. A lot of my scripts are kind of done on the fly. Like I'll start Googling something and I'll be like, ooh, what's that? And then I'll go and do a script on it. So that's why I kind of, okay, whatever. So more to come on this haunting because I want more details. George Bean eventually left the house one day and just never came back. And soon after this, a dark entity attacked Patricia so violently and terrified her so badly that she started sleeping with her two sons because she's too frightened to sleep alone or to leave them to sleep alone, even together, all night long in the dark and in this demonic house. It was getting really violent. She was so terrorized, she ended up suffering a mild stroke and having to be hospitalized for it. By this time, Bill was older, though I'm not sure by how much, and he started to understand that whatever was in the house, though it messed with him and his brother quite often, was mainly focusing its attacks on his mom, on Patricia. And that's how she ended up having the stroke. At least that's what he believes. Everyone involved to this day are convinced the spirit and their constant and progressively more violent attacks caused the hospitalization and stroke. Patricia eventually realized her husband wasn't going to be coming back, so she started a relationship with a man named Richard Tyson, who almost immediately upon entering the house started having his own paranormal encounters. He started to see the spirit of a lady with long blonde hair wearing a nightgown. The family later had a Roman Catholic priest perform a blessing on the home in an attempt to get rid of the spirits. They were given a bottle of holy water as well. Shortly after the blessing, the family was violently attacked by unseen spirits, all of them. And young Billy attempted to rid the house of the spirits, but his attempts failed. And the family finally left the house that same day, the same day of all these violent attacks. 10 months after moving out of the house, Patricia passed away. A man named John Romaine, who was a local and retired police officer, had heard Bill Bean talking on a radio show and knew that he wrote a book. He contacted him in 2002 saying he had information regarding the haunting, and he also had information about people who had experienced similar incidents. And he had experienced haunting and similar terrifying incidents in the house himself, so he got in touch with Bill Bean. He shared with Bill that the house was built on the site of a rifle range back in the 1860s to the 1900s. And he stated that rifles were known to backfire, causing serious injuries back then. He also added that the heavy footsteps Bill heard was that of a soldier named Edward Ziprian, who was badly injured and died years later, an angry man who haunted the house. Romaine also showed Bean a pair of old heavy combat boots that the soldiers wore at the time. This brought Bill Bean some new information about the haunting. And he said, quote, "We went from a very loving family when we first moved into the home to a family void of affection that lived and survived on a day-to-day basis. I believe it was the evil force and entities in the home that made my mother ill and kept her in that environment." End quote. He said he never discussed what happened to himself or his family in the 10 years they lived in that house, not even with his siblings who shared most of the experiences until he decided to write the book in 2002. This is all I have on this particular demonic haunting, but I'm definitely going to be purchasing the book and soon. And I'm going to revisit this and give you all some more in depth details, specific deets, okay, about what exactly is known as the demon house and maybe even why. So, okay, guys, this one really threw me for a loop, and I'm not sure how I never came across this or never heard of this before. I was absolutely shocked and mesmerized as I read through the information. I'm not really sure to call this one except the demonic haunting of Latoya A. and her family. Let's get to it. 32-year-old Latoya A. and her three children and her mother, whose name is Rosa, moved into a rented house on Carolina Street in Gary, Indiana in November of 2011. Almost immediately upon moving into the home, though, they started to notice some very strange things happening. Flies would constantly swarm all over the house, and about a month after moving in December of 2011, there would randomly and constantly be wet boot prints tracked all over the house, especially in the basement and in the kitchen. Boots that didn't belong to anyone in the home. And also, it was even when it wasn't precipitating outside, like no rain, no snow, no morning mist. There were strange noises and banging sounds heard from the basement almost constantly as well. It was things like these that made the family start questioning their own sanity for the first 3 months they lived in their home. However, in March of 2012, all doubt would be removed about whether or not they were losing it or if something really terrifying was happening in their rental house. The family had some company over, and the adults were up late into the night hanging out, talking, possibly listening to music or watching TV. And the children in the house, three of them, were presumably asleep. That's when Latoya decided to go and check on her 12-year-old daughter. Immediately upon entering the room, Latoya started screaming at the top of her lungs, which got the attention first of her mother, who came running into the 12-year-old girl's room after her. There they saw Latoya's daughter levitating off of her bed, seemingly unconscious. Rosa said she thought, quote, "What's going on? Why is this happening?" End of quote. Eventually, the noise caused everyone in the house to go into the girl's bedroom and witness the spectacle that was taking place. The group of them all decided to just start praying. As they did this and recited prayers over and over again out loud, the 12-year-old girl slowly started moving through the air and back down again to her bed. She was still unconscious, and when she finally came to, she remembered nothing about the incident. Latoya said that she was absolutely terrified for herself and her family, but was nowhere near in a place financially where she could even consider moving out of this house. All they could do was pray and endure the frightening experiences that were to come. The family tried to do anything they possibly could to not only get some answers, but also to get some help. They contacted churches and alleged clairvoyants, most of whom wouldn't even listen or believe what they had to say. Those who did seem to take an interest or at least believe what they were saying told them general things they thought would help, like washing the children's hands in oil and burning sage throughout the house. Many of the clairvoyants did warn Latoya that the home was haunted by more than 200 demonic entities, all at once, all haunting this house. Rosa and Latoya said that they followed every single instruction to the letter, but to no avail. Even in times of seeming silence, they could still feel the presences there, and the children increasingly showed signs of becoming possessed by demons. They claimed the children's eyes would bulge, they would have sickening smiles and evil grins upon their faces, and the youngest boy would sit in the closet and have full-blown conversations with someone or something nobody else could see or hear. On one occasion, this child, the little boy that would sit in the closet, the youngest boy, was picked up and thrown into the hallway while he was standing in the bathroom. And it was really violent, and the force was unseen. The children weren't possessed all of the time, though. These things would come and go, and this is very common with possessions in the beginning and even the middle stages. Latoya would say that there were many occasions where she herself felt weak and unnaturally warm, and her body would tremble and shake for no apparent reason. When she took her children to see doctors, they insisted that Child Protective Services be called. And when the doctors and caseworkers would meet with the children, they would curse at them in low and guttural voices and sometimes even growl. During one of these visits with CPS at the hospital, the youngest boy was lifted off the ground and thrown against the wall right in front of everyone in the room. The official report says he was, quote, lifted and thrown into the wall with nobody touching him, end of quote. LaToya was being investigated for possible mental illness and child abuse and or neglect. She was sent to a psychiatrist who concluded she was, quote, of sound mind, end quote. In the CPS report, it was written by the caseworker and later corroborated by a nurse who was in the room that the 9-year-old boy, quote, displayed a weird grin and then walked backwards up a wall to a ceiling, end quote. He then flipped over his grandmother and landed on his feet, the whole while never letting go of his grandmother's hand. The nurse told a reporter, quote, there's no way he could have done that, end of quote. The case manager for CPS, whose name was Valerie Washington, said in a police report that she believed a, quote, evil influence could be affecting the family. And when asked if the boy had walked up a ceiling in an acrobatic maneuver, she said it was in fact a slow glide that could not have been performed naturally. These were unnatural movements. I mean, obviously, somebody walking up a wall. Of course, CPS did find a reason to take custody of LaToya's children, and they said it's because it was found that she was neglecting their education. LaToya, though, stood firm that this evil and ghoulish activity all of the time was keeping the children up all night, and they were simply too exhausted to even keep their heads up, let alone go to school. That makes sense to me. Records from clinical psychologists did, however, indicate that the younger boy acted possessed when he was asked questions he didn't like. I don't know what that means. Like, what questions didn't he like? It doesn't, that they don't elaborate on that. It's like they just threw it in there to put doubt in people's heads. I believe this 100%, by the way. Later on, Miss Washington went to the home to check on its condition and was joined by 3 police officers. During the visit, one of their recorders malfunctioned and another recorded audio in which a voice whispered, quote, hey, end quote. And this is according to police records. They also took photos of the house, and when these were looked at later, it appeared as if cloudy faces were in the images. These unlikely sounding events were detailed and documented by a string of authorities and professional people who had first-hand experience with the family and or in the house, as well as the family themselves, friends, loved ones, who had all gone for a visit or otherwise been in the home at any given time while this stuff was going on. Police also observed strange goings on at the house, and a captain of the city's force has said he is, quote, a true believer, end quote, that the house is in fact haunted. After a string of apparent paranormal events at the house, hardened police officers, including that aforementioned captain, even declared themselves too frightened to stay there after nightfall, and numerous city officials refused to even step foot on the property to investigate. There are hundreds of pages of these official documents, and there have been dozens upon dozens of interviews with all parties involved, including CPS caseworkers and managers, the police, priests, friends, family, neighbors, psychologists, and other mental health professionals, and even some medical doctors, and more. All of them eventually agree that these happenings in the house are worse than something straight from a horror movie. Worse because it was all really happening and there seemed to be nothing anybody could even do about it. Gary Police Captain Charles Austin told the newspaper that he had initially been skeptical of the family's claims. I mean, obviously, but after conducting interviews and visiting the home himself, he now admits, quote, I'm a believer. The police chief added that after he left the house, the radio in his car malfunctioned and that his garage later refused to open. Even more chillingly, he said that the driver's seat in one of his other cars started moving backward and forward on its own. And according to his mechanic, this could have caused an accident. Like, this was dangerous. During a second visit to the home in May of 2012, they were joined by a priest, Reverend Michael Magino, who had been asked by a hospital chaplain to perform an exorcism on one of the boys. While at the home, a Child Protective Services family case manager said that she touched liquid she saw in the basement and later suffered finger pain right at the spot where she had touched it, and then she felt like she was having a panic attack. She said, quote, we felt like someone was in the room with us, someone breathing down our necks, end of quote. She said and added that later she experienced a series of medical problems from random burns to numerous broken bones. After the visit, the priest performed a minor exorcism on LaToya, which consisted of prayers, statements, and appeals to cast out demons. But after these smaller exorcisms, he said that he was finally given the go-ahead by Bishop Dale Melchek of the Diocese of Gary, and he decided to carry out 3 more powerful exorcisms on LaToya in his church in Maryville in June of 2012. Police officers were present. LaToya stated, quote, "I was hurting all over from the inside out. I'm trying to do my best to be strong," she remembered. Not long after the exorcisms, LaToya moved out of the home and to Indianapolis, and she said that she'd had no further problems. And after 6 months, she regained custody of her children from CPS. The house in Gary has tenants to this day, but the landlord said there have been no further problems at the address. Does this mean there have been problems before LaToya and her family moved in? I would really love to research that. And if I come up with anything, I will definitely let you know. I am tongue-tied tonight, my goodness. Of the bone-chilling and terrifying activity at her former home, LaToya said, quote, "When you hear something like this, don't just assume it's not real because I've lived it. I know it's real." End of quote. Guys, this is all I have for you today. I really hope you enjoyed this short little video on demonic hauntings. I have so much more to get through and film because I want to do something really awesome for Halloween, but I don't know if I'm going to be able to. So that's why the videos are going to be a little bit shorter this week and getting up to Halloween, so I can save that time to prepare for you all. All right. And if nothing else, I'll see you fireside on Halloween night, decked out in my costume. Please be sure and give this video a big thumbs up if you enjoyed spending this time with me. If you liked this video, if you liked hanging out with me, subscribe if you haven't already. I don't think you'll be disappointed. Check out some of my other videos. I would really appreciate it. If you are already subscribed, please click on the notification bell and make sure that it's turned on to all. Otherwise, you may not get notifications. And I know a lot of you guys have been concerned about that. Also, check to make sure you are subscribed if you already did, if that makes sense, because a lot of people are telling me that they weren't subscribed anymore and they.
Let me turn that sound off here. There we go. We don't need to hear all the older stuff. Yeah, make sure if you're sub, make sure you check it every so often, not with just this channel, but other channels, because they have a habit of unsubbing people. And I've been going around with them about sending out notifications. So there you go. Yeah, I hope she wins this time too. They do it, from what I gather, it's like they put them in groups. So I don't know how many groups there are. So I'm going to ask her tomorrow, because I meant to ask that last time she was in this contest. But yeah, she's actually stayed in first place this time, so that's great. But I also know that there's a lot of people buying votes for her, so she really could use this because she's ready to get her bait. She's doing, she's going to do stuff out of the house, and she has to have a certain setup in order for her to be able to do that. So that's what she's working towards. She's ordered, I believe she got her certification. So, but I'll tell her that you sent her the birthday. Give her some of your birthday luck. So that will make her happy. The moon is waxing, so boom. What's it waxing? Its legs or its armpits or other areas? Just kidding, that's bad. My jokes are horrible tonight. I was going to do another one, but I think we'll just hang out a little bit and then I may call it a night. As long as everybody's up chatting. Waxing is to the fool. Waxing to the fool. Who's a fool? I guess I am, since I have all my toys laying in the background. I knocked off. Moon wants to be Brazilian. That's funny. Thanks. I need little giggles. You guys always make me smile. Well, I'm glad you got out and had fun, Cindy. Man, we used to do that too, hit all the haunted houses and stuff. But most of the friends that did that stuff with me are all moved on and got families now. And a lot of them don't even live in the state anymore. After the new moon? Okay. Yeah, I knew what you were getting at. It's November. Hairy legs are back in the razors of way. That's funny. You're killing me, you guys. And folks that are watching and ghosting, thank you so much. Appreciate it. Make sure you leave a like, leave a comment. Like I said, if you're going through a catalog and you guys want to watch one together, just put the title in the comment. I do check the comments. So, oh God, it's No Shave November. Blah. I always thought it was No Shave February. It's November. No. Oh, it is No Shave November. I don't shave much anyways, so I'm not worried about it. That's just funny because that just means that the people that try to grow mustaches and beards, my son's been trying to grow a mustache and a beard for since he hit puberty. I keep telling him, those are pubic hairs on your chin, dude. You better get rid of those. Between my kids and the grandkids, I got a lot to hang out with. Yeah, that's great. And I'm glad you got out and about. You needed it. I know you did. How many people in the room went to haunted houses? Do you guys have favorite haunted houses in the areas that you like the most? 4 months of Neanderthal women. That's bad, but funny. You know, they got to be careful because, you know, Bigfoot looking for a mate could be a problem. You know, Squatch likes his women hairy. No shave throughout the winter. Well, you're wearing pants and sweats and everything else. That's funny. Man, my arm hurts. My daughter and her fiance went to Spooky World. Spooky World? Now, what's that? Now, Chris, did you ever go to Kings Island Halloween Fest? Or we went to, I've never been to Kings Island, but I went to Cedar Points a couple times. They were pretty good. Kind of fun. And I got to give them credit. Some of the spook houses they had in there were pretty good, pretty impressive. But then again, they have, you know, the talent there to make them good. Oh, there we go. It cracked. It's Festival Haunted House. Okay. That's cool. You know, it's like a big party. That's cool. This kid trick-or-treating. It was funny. This one poor kid, I felt bad for him, was wearing a Patrick suit, one of the blow-up suits. This poor kid was just trying to keep up with everybody else in this blow-up suit. It was so cute. But the kid he was with was supposed to be a bush, but he looked like the grass man, Ohio grass man. So when he walked up, I go, I know you're supposed to be a bush, but you really look like either the Ohio grass man or a guy out in a gunny suit. He looked more like the grass man, actually. It's funny because the leaves were out, so when he walked, all the leaves were clinging to him. Did you know that the Land of Illusions haunted attraction out by Kings Island is actually haunted? Yes, I did know that. We were supposed to, somebody had asked me to go with them, was it about 2 or 3 years ago? And I couldn't go. And how I wish I'd gone. Because they were telling me, and I was like, well, I knew that. Yeah, Middletown. Yeah. They know what you're talking. Well, that's like there's a we got the refectory, however you say it, but there's an old nursing home, just like the one you see. I think there's one somewhere else that they actually hold a haunted house in. And I believe that nursing home is actually half of it is closed and the other half is being used. But there's a nursing here not far from me that they closed down that they use for a haunted house. And I don't think they had it there this year because they had a lot of problems with crazy stuff going on last year. Yes, that I didn't know. Actually, there's probably more than that, Chris. I didn't even see what she said. I liked Haunted Estates. They had all three there, the Spook House, the Maze, and the Haunted Hayride. We went 4 times. Oh, that's awesome. I'm wearing my cousin, but I wear mine all year round. Yeah, I believe actually, Chris, there's more than 3. Last time I was there, we were over by where it was the last time I was there, it was going to be the last time the Son of the Beast was going to run. And then they were going to tear it down. And we were over by there, and I was going to ride it. But the people I was with chickened out on me for some reason. And it's a rat. You hurt when you get off of it. But I kept seeing shadows underneath the coaster. And I kept telling them, there is something underneath that coaster. And that's when we got to talking that those known 3, but I think there's more than that. I really do. I think the old Hanna-Barbera house, and I believe it was the Spook House. It's been a couple different places where you float through the ride. It used to be Hanna-Barbera Land, and it's been Smurf Land. And I know that place. I hear stories about it all the time. Now you're messing with the Son of the Beast, yeah. Yeah, they tore it down. The Beast, is it still running? God, I believe it's still running, but the Son of the Beast they had to tear down. I know. Did they replace it already? God, I'm so out of touch now. That was a couple of years ago. Last time I was there, they were getting rid of the dinosaurs. Yes, I knew they were getting rid of the dinosaurs, but they were kind of a joke. I don't think they really were doing much of anything. The Beast, I know. I thought it was still there. I didn't think they were going to tear it down, but I knew they were tearing down the Son of the Beast. When we wrote it the year before that, man, I hurt. I mean, that thing. I mean, you could tell they tried to keep the maintenance on it, but those old wooden roller coasters, and they had a lot of problems with that particular coaster anyways, off and on. So it didn't surprise me that would go before the Beast. And I'm surprised the Beast is still running, to be honest. But I tell you, we went up when SeaWorld was up in Geauga Lake, and it was SeaWorld. We went up there when they did the Batman shows. We had gotten tickets. So we bought a package where you got SeaWorld, which was Geauga Lake, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, Cedar Point, and a hotel. And there's a great package. But man, Geauga Lake or SeaWorld, the amphitheater where they held the Batman show, man, that I saw all kinds of creepy stuff going on during the show. And my ex kept looking at me going, "What are you watching?" I go, "Man, there's some weird shit going on in the background." Pardon my mouth. And yeah, that was one place I was not comfortable. And all these guys zipping around and stuff, and I was waiting for something to happen. Then my daughter throws a party every year for the grandkids. That's awesome, Cindy. My dad's welding company, Southern Ohio Fabrications, made most of the rides there. Oh, really? That's cool. That's cool. Yeah, I always did. I liked Cedar Point back in the Kings Island back in the 70s. I mean, that was his heydays, and maybe the 80s, a little bit of the 90s. But I always did like Cedar Point. I don't know why. Their rides seem to have a little more gusto to them. It's from, but I haven't been to either one of them for a couple of years now. For a few years now, actually. Probably about 4 or 5. But yeah, except for Cedar Point when I went up for the Halloween. I didn't do any rides. We just did the haunted houses and ate. Just joked around, played around. But yeah, there's still good times. Yeah, it's clear on the other side of you, man. It's clear on the other side of the state. It was once every few years you would trip. Yeah, I'm in the middle, so I can go either way, which is nice. Everyone remembered to turn. Yeah, their clock's back. We brought that up. 19 minutes here in 19 minutes. Yeah, you can turn it back at 2, right? Yep. I just let everything do it itself. You don't have to do it anymore, and then I get up and change the ones that I have to do by hand. Now the one I have by my bed I have to do because I got to get up in the morning. The church across the street from our house has a small event for kids. I see it from the front window. Do they do like Gemma did Friday night? Some of the churches do it like a trunk and treat where they open up the parking lot and people hand candies out of their trunks. My laptop will remind me. Yeah. Yeah, safe place for kids. Yeah, and it is. I was got to be honest. There was a while after like my generation moved out of this neighborhood. There wasn't many kids in this neighborhood, maybe a few, like 3 or 4 at tops, and they were gone. In the last few years, I've noticed the neighborhood, starting to change and more young people coming in. The houses sell really good here in Worthington, even with the craziness that's going on. I mean, a house goes up for sale here and it's sold. It was nice to see. We started at 6 o'clock, and I think I handed out my last handful of candy almost 10 till 8, which was amazing. We had a good crew, a lot of kids. It was nice. Like I said, there was a few houses, more than usual, people not being home. But I think the case was a lot of people kind of hung up together in one yard or a couple yards because most of the people handing out candy were outside. But it was nice out, little rainy, little drizzly. But the weather, the temperatures were just not cold, but cool enough. And every so often you get a drizzle. And we didn't get any real rain. But it was nice to see all those kids again. I almost went through all the candy for a change. Still got toss it, the microwave and stove. They have games. Yeah. A lot of churches do that now. Yeah, teach small kids to take candy from a stranger. Like, how many years did we do it? Man, when I was growing up, there's our neighborhood. There was a neighborhood, like go down there's like a little forest between this neighborhood and another forest. And then behind that is Riverly, which is a huge, rich place, a little more upper class, middle class. We'd hit all those, and I'd have literally 3 full pillowcases full of candy. And then take it to school and sell it to the kids that weren't allowed to trick or treat. Yeah, they call it trunk or treat. That's what Gemma did Friday night with I believe the school did that. Like her trunk, they decorate the trunks and stuff. I think they came in first place, or they were the fancy one for the night. Yeah, we use pillowcases all the time, and I missed it because I miss it. There was a couple people that would have hamburgers and hot dogs grilling out, and you would come in to have a hamburger and hot dog. They would have like warm cider, or you remember the McDonald's orange drink? People would have that. You don't do that too much anymore. Yeah, I love the pillowcase, man. Like I said, we would get done. I'd come in about 8:30, 9 o'clock, and I'd literally have to be pillowcase. In fact, a lot of times we'd come home, change pillowcases, and go back out. It's funny because half the candy you wouldn't eat anyway. Yeah, it's just sad. The world's changed. I mean, you got to stop and think, though. We just know more about it now. But that same stuff went on back then, too. It just wasn't talked about as much. Now it's just more people, more craziness. And you know about this. Now it's in your head because you know about it now. But I was really shocked to see how many kids were out this year. I mean, like I said, it started at 6, and they were out at 6. And I handed them out my last group of kids came in around 10 till 8. I waited a little bit and gave up and went inside. And I was impressed. It was nice to see all those kids and parents out walking with their kids. Yeah, there was, like I said, I felt bad for the one kid dressed up as Patrick because he was in one of those blow-ups. And he was trying to keep up with the other kids. You see his feet scuffling around. You'd hear him get bam, bam. Pardon my mouth again. Cussing in there. It's like, come on, guys, wait for me. There's one kid that was helping him. Like I said, he was dressed as a bush, but he actually looked like the Ohio grass man. And I asked him, I go, do you know what the Ohio grass man is? He goes, yeah, my dad's into that stuff. I'm like, all right, cool. I think he said his dad that came back later said he was from Zanesville, so they probably know all about it. But yeah, there was it's nice because I noticed this year there was only a few, like, other than Patrick, most of the costumes I saw this year looked like they were homemade, and I liked it. I think there was a couple girls dressed as princesses, and that was pretty much the home. Everything else was pretty much homemade, which was nice to see. People getting creative again. I figured I'd see a lot of superhero stuff. Really didn't I? Maybe one Spider-Man, saw a Batman, and that was pretty much it. Everything else was just fun stuff. And what really surprised me too was usually like the first hour here, first hour and a half is mostly the younger kids. Then that last couple, I like the last half hour, 45 minutes before they call it quits for that 8 o'clock. It's usually like older kids, like I call them tweens, your preteens and teens that sneak out to get candy. I didn't see any like young anybody. I think the oldest kid I saw was maybe 12. And someone dressed as a hamburger. Oh, that's awesome. Now that's funny. Yeah, I think the funniest one I saw was the Patrick, only because I felt bad for the kid. He was trying so hard to keep up, and the legs just wouldn't move for him. Yeah. I was impressed too because I noticed a lot of parents dress up now too, which was not a big thing when I was growing up. But now, some of the parents had costumes on, pretty cool stuff. We had I had one parents dressed up as Gandalf and just an elf. I don't think she was supposed to be anybody special, but they did a really good job. Anyone else having issues with their internet? Mine keeps going in and out. There is something going on. Um, Even though we've been hit with a couple small X flares. Sorry, see what I mean. Um, there, we're still having some really hard pounding by something. They don't know what's going on. One second. Oh, come here. Stop. Go down. But we've been being pounded by something. If you go to the solar maps or the solar, that gives you, I would pull it up, but it's such a hassle to get to. If you watch Mr. MBB333, they'll show you. It's just like for 7 days now, even though we've had solar flares, we have been consistently the northern and the southern poles, and it's showing up, and we get the in between, has been kicking. And we don't know what we're getting hit with. If there was a solar storm that didn't come from the storm that's hitting us. But they're having a lot of radio problems up north and down south, and the lower and higher latitudes. They actually the other day had a radio blackout. So up north, yours is fine. Now, where you at, Riley? I know you're up north. I know that some of the people that use CBs, ham radios, up in Canada and along the Northern Territories were having really difficult times. They've had to reroute planes. You're in North Maine. Yeah, you should say you're in a good area then. Yeah, I'm not a big fan of T-Mobile or the other one. Their internet is, for as good as they say it is, it's kind of unpredictable. Now we have cable, we have Spectrum, but I run off. He's got all the modems and stuff upstairs, and I use Wi-Fi down here. I don't usually have a problem. The only time I seem to have a problem is during storms. Every so often, we'll go out, and it always seems to be at the worst time. Not far from me, Ron. He likes to go by Riley, Mike, just so you know. You're in New Hampshire. Edna's up from around there. Vixen is from up around there. I haven't seen Vixen for a while. I hope she's doing good. I know she's probably enjoying the Halloween holiday. This is her time of year, too. But Edna's from up around in there, or a little lower, I believe. Vixen's from up there. I believe a couple of other people, gemstones, are from up around that area. And then we do have quite a few. A gray wolf is way up in Canada somewhere. You're at the Canadian border. Okay, yeah, I know pretty much where that's kind of at. Never been there, but I know where you're talking. I know that he said he liked Riley better. So yeah, because I keep wanting to call him Ron too. And you do prefer Riley, right? We want to make sure we call you by your right name. or the one you prefer. Yeah, Edna's in Baltimore. That's it. Man, that Red Dragon doesn't show up too bad in the dark. The thing was a lot bigger than I thought. I sent you something, man. I took it out of that box and I thought, God, that thing's huge. But the light's pretty nice. Yeah, Edna. I hope she's resting tonight. She was pretty flustered Friday night. I think she already kicked some butt. Okay. I like to call a person by their name that they prefer. You know, I actually prefer Stephen Lee. I still get Stevie, not nuts or Steve, but I actually prefer to be Stephen Lee. I went to school and they'd say Stephen. 6 of us would turn around. It was like, just call me Stephen Lee. Or Ghosty or Dragons. She's still in a foul mood. I don't know. Have you talked to her? Because I haven't seen her since Friday. I figured I'd get an email from her, but I hadn't yet. I need to send her one and check on her if I don't hear from her by the end of the day. You mean Ghost Dragon Lee or Ghost Dragon Lee? I go by that too. I don't mind you calling me that, Cindy Lee. You know, I've seen there's a lot of Lees out there, but very few Lees that spell it with the double E, which really shocked me. I figured that was the only way to spell it. But I've been on the go so much lately and having issues with my voice and everything. And I'm still trying to catch up on YouTube. I need to go back and watch some live streams that I missed. It's a Lee thing, isn't it? It's like when I tell people my name is Steve. I don't spell it with a PH. It's with a V. Real Steve spell it with a V. They crack up. This one says, look. Thanks, Mike. I'm not using the words. It's almost 2:00, going back 1 hour. Then there'll be 1:00 again. Nothing like repeats. I can always go back and replay the show from what we've done from 1:00 till now. I don't know. I can do that. Today was kind of a weird. The end of the day till dinner was being at the store was just. It was just like a whole different world for Columbus. I was really kind of shocked. Kind of threw me off. Kind of disappointed me. Let's count down to 1 a.m. Oh, jeez. I don't think I can count that high. Yeah, I believe my phone already did too. No, not yet. Wow, I'm shocked. No, no. What are you doing? There it went. It just went back. Just as I was watching it. The computer do it already. Yep. Oh man, I thought it was almost 2:00, man. And all the people out drinking are going, yay, get another hour. And that's the thing about being on the bar zone tonight. You go back an hour, you get that extra hour of drinking. remember doing that. So I wasn't much of a drinker. I was always the designated driver. Every so often I'd cut loose. Got kind of quiet. Sorry about that. Well, I paused because I read. It's when you're by yourself, you're going to have some dead air every so often. Somebody goes, sometimes you have too much dead air. And I go, well, I'm trying to read, chat, and keep it on my setup. People working gets the extra hour of pay. If we worked overtime on these nights that we went back in time, they actually gave us overtime, which was nice. Yeah, everybody should have pretty much done it on time. I guess falling back in time doesn't mess with me. But every time, oh, excuse me, every time we spring ahead, it always messes with me, always, and I don't know why. Yeah, I'm gonna call it a night too, Riley. Everybody have a wonderful night. Have a wonderful Sunday. Thank you all for hanging out with me. Thank you for all the folks who ghosted. I'll leave my always leave a comment. Sometimes I do it afterwards. Sometimes I wait until the morning. Thank you all. Be blessed, like Mike says. Have a wonderful Sunday. Go vote if you vote. I don't tell people who to vote for. I don't care, but go vote. Tuesday, and hopefully we'll see you Tuesday talk. I'm waiting to make sure that's still a go. As far as I know, nobody says anything different, but we'll let you know one way or another. Please keep Mark Halstead in your prayers. I didn't know if you caught this, Cindy. Mark is in hospice. He got his treatments weren't working. Gemma got a call from him. He's not doing the best. So send him a lot of love. If you got him on Facebook, send him some love. Much love, everybody. Have a wonderful Sunday. I will either see you Tuesday or Thursday at 8. Most likely Tuesday. Have a wonderful one. Be well. Be safe. Love you all. Thank you all for hanging with me. And I'll see you guys on the flip side real soon.